Actually, one point that I did want to highlight as we were going through, because I think we really zone in on it, is from a company size perspective, because been mentioning EBITDA just in terms, across the board. Is there a, employee count, revenue size, just really for more simplistic terms for folks when they're starting to think about this?
Yeah,
Because I know, you do have some smaller companies that, just really wouldn't qualify. So I wanted to make sure the viewers could get a backdrop there.
that's perfect. So size, where it makes sense. I mean, there's competitors that we have in the market that work what I call in the small market. That's just not where we work. And what I mean by that is, they'll work with a company that's, let's just use a landscaping company that's got, 12 employees and does $1.5 million a year top line revenue and makes 300 grand a year in profit. That's just not us. We're not a boilerplate, simplistic transaction company. We work sort of in the more sophisticated space. So for us to help a client really to do it the right way, we need EBITDA, trailing 12-month EBITDA of around $2 million. The reason why we set that as a threshold, and I've helped companies that are less than that, but the problem is we can't get any bank financing. Banks won't touch deals that are that small because there's just too much risk. They usually have too much what they call concentration focus. So they may have most of their business coming from one company or one vendor. And it just that makes it very difficult to finance that. It also makes it very difficult to structure a deal where the owners are going to be treated fairly in price. So 2 million or more in EBITDA. Top line revenue is somewhat irrelevant because you can have an engineering firm that does 4.5 million of top line revenue and generates 2.25 profit, or EBITDA. So it's the EBITDA number that's important. You do need to have, on a minimum basis, you need to have 11 employees or more. There's what they call top heavy rules. You're familiar with those, Carl, in the qualified plan world. ESOPs work a little bit differently in the way the top heavy rules are governed, meaning you can't have any one employee that has 10% or more of the overall economic benefits of the plans. That's an ESOP and all other plans that are ultimately implemented. And if you do, they fall into what they call this qualified class. And then in turn, if you have more than the qualified class, those that fit into that category that end up receiving 50% or more of the overall economics of the benefits, the plan is disqualified. So that is sort of what I call the atomic bomb of ESOPs. So hence, in all reality, you could theoretically do a plan where you had 11 employees and everybody got equal benefits. Nobody would have more than a 9% benefit and they're 9.1% benefit, but you're too close to the edge. So what we usually say is we want 20 or more employees that are full-time, at least 1,000 hours, that have worked with you at least 1 year. That gives you plenty of cushion if people end up leaving or you have people that die or some circumstance takes place without any issue. And the simple rule of thumb is because it is a qualified retirement plan in the way that it does work, the benefits and the way they're provided, what I say is you want 20 or more employees to start for a 10 million or more valuation firm. And for every $10 million in additional value, you need another 10 employees. So if you're a $20 million valuation firm, you need to have 30 employees. If you're a $30 million valuation firm, you need to have 40 employees. And that really isn't that you have to worry of the top heavy rules. It's that you want to be able to provide enough benefits that it makes the overall strategy worthwhile, meaning you're going to provide significant benefits over time to employees, but you don't want to have too few of employees that you're going to make them all rich in a very short period of time. And all of a sudden now, if you're 10 years into the plan, you've got 15 employees in the company. They've all got, $2 million to their name in their ESOP, and they all simultaneously quit because they expect to get $2 million and they don't need any more than that for retirement, because you're talking about normal rank and file employees, people that are probably earning 40, 50, 60,000 a year, and $2 million handing it to them overnight when they're 45 or 50 years old is probably enough money. They probably wouldn't have to do much after that. So the idea of the size on a minimum basis is important because we want to be able to get you bank financing. So there's cash that comes out at closing. We also want to be able to, because the cost and the sophistication of truly doing an ESOP the right way, if you're less than $10 million, the cost to implement and do it right with all the various parties that have to be hired becomes too big of a burden on the company. I mean, if you got to spend 6 or 7 or 8% of the sale price ultimately to go ahead and orchestrate and implement an ESOP in the first year, I'm just not one to think that that's worthwhile. Because remember, you're not getting all your, it'd be different if you had a $10 million company or a $9 million company and we got you $9 million cash up front you walked away with. Then if you've got to pay, 500 or 600,000 to sell the company and do the transaction, you know, you're paying it out of the 9 million in cash you're getting. The problem is if you only get 3 million in cash and it costs you 600,000, you know, that's a big price to pay on the level of cash you're getting out. So you need to be big enough where the cost to do the transaction isn't the burden to the transaction.